그래요. 안녕하세요. 그래요. 지금 공지했던 것처럼 지금 오늘은 프로에 대해서 제공하는 웹 8월 초에 있는 워크 익스피리언스에 대한 설명이긴 하는데 사실은 오늘 프로그램이 굉장히 좀 많은 걸 포함을 하고 있어요. 그래서 단지 의대뿐만 아니라 의대가 아닌 톱 전공 그리고 자신의 열정을 어떻게 표현하는지 왜 이런 부분을 포함을 하고 있거든요. 이 부분은 사실은 톱 학교를 가는데 가장 필수적인 요소거든요. 그래서 영국 교육이 그렇죠. 좀 미국하고도 다르고 우리나라하고 다른 부분이 이 부분이거든요. 그래서 사실 저희는 A레벨에 대한 과외라든지 그리고 파운데이션 의대로 파운데이션 가는 사람한테 파운데이션 학업에 대한 과외라든지 이런 것은 그렇게 많이 신경을 쓰지 않았던 것 같아요. 대부분 학생들이 A나 A스타를 봤는데 거의 문제가 없었 왔던 게 이제 A레벨이었던 이런 경험을 가지고 있거든요. 하지만 항상 문제는 항상 인터뷰 때문에 문제가 됐고 그다음에 인터뷰는 사실 워크 익스피리언스 때문에 문제가 됐고요. 그다음에 워크 익스피리언스를 어떤 식으로 경험을 해야 되는지 어떤 식으로 좀 그죠? 그걸 반영을 해야 되는지 자기소개서라든지 그다음 내 열정에 반영해야 되는지 이런 문제가 항상 있어 왔던 것 같아요. 그래서 사실은 이번 8월이 하는 것은 사람사랑 학생을 위해서만 좀 초대를 하긴 했지만 여기를 보고 계시고 그다음에 미래 계획을 하고 계시는 분들에게도 많은 좀 도움이 되실 거라고 생각하고 이 프로그램을 작성했거든요. 그리고 이 프로그램 오늘 PPT에서는 의대뿐만 아니라 왜 워크 익스피리언스가 필요한지, 왜 스포 커리큘러라든지 그다음에 왜 이런 것들이 필요한지, 비단 의대뿐만 아니라 로라든지 엔지니어링이라든지 컴퓨터 사이언스라든지 여러 톱 전공에 대해서 왜 이런 것들이 필요한지, 왜 이런 부분을 좀 이분이 알려주실 겁니다. 그리고 여기 나와 있는 오늘 얘기해 주실 이분을 소개해드리면 이분은 프로에드라는 왜 교육기관을 운영하고 계시는 분이고요. 그리고 여기에 그 다이렉터 대표자 있고요. 그다음에 이 프로그램이 이분 혼자서 만드는 게 아니라 여러분 아시다시피 야스민 사와랑 같이 만들고 있고요. 그다음에 여기에 임페리얼즈 칼리지 런던이라고 하는 여기에 굉장히 좀 유명하신 분이 계세요. 여기 소개해드릴 텐데 이분하고 같이 만드는 프로그램이에요. 그래서 여기에 나오는 여러 가지 온라인 프로그램을 하는 그 의사분이라든지 그다음에 이 프로그램을 주관하는 분들이 굉장히 좀 신뢰하실 분이고 아예 이 분야에는 톱 레벨의 그런 분이라는 걸 그죠 인지하고 계시면 될 것 같아요. 그래서 제 자신도 가장 좀 좋은 프로그램이라고 소개하고 그죠 이해를 하고 소개를 하고 있고요. 그래서 분명히 많은 도움이 되실 거라고 생각하고 그다음에 끝나고 나서 저한테 언제든지 궁금하신 부분은 질문을 해주시고 그다음에 그거에 대해서 제가 좀 설명해 주는 시간을 좀 갖도록 하겠습니다. Okay, Rafi, so are you ready? So it's your time.
Yes, thank
Okay,
you. Thank you.
carry on. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for hosting me, Suno. This is just really an opportunity for us at ProEd to give some information on kind of to begin with our the background of the company, what ProEd can offer, some history on the founders and what kind of services we can provide. I'll then talk a little bit about what medical schools are looking for predominantly in the UK, but also around the world, and how students can best prepare for applying to medical school. And then we'll finally kind of the last piece of the presentation is how do these kind of immersive work experience programs fit into applying to medical school? What role do they play and why are they important? So that's kind of a brief overview of the presentation for today. And I'll go straight into the kind of what ProEd is and why we were founded in the first place. So at ProEd, we deliver online experiences and in-person experiences. And we're not just a summer school or an online school. We specialize in providing students with an immersive kind of career experience. So rather than the teaching just being, just teachers and just teaching students, there is a big element on our programs of providing students with a real insight into the career. So what we mean by that is simulate work experience. So rather than just teaching students the basic theory, we allow students to apply their knowledge in ways that perhaps you wouldn't in a normal summer school. So I think that's possibly how we're different. we do offer multiple careers, but today we'll be focusing on medicine, as per the talk. But you know, we're really interested in kind of offering students the opportunity to learn more about an industry with working alongside industry professionals. So our founder is Dr. Randall Parry. He is a veteran academic from Imperial College London. He is one of the big players in what we call project-based learning. So he's a big believer in students having the opportunity to use projects and problems and testing their problem-solving skills over the course of programs, and that's something that we try and integrate into each of our programs. He's also a very well accoladed academic. He's very well researched. He's done a lot of research in his career. You know, he set up ProEd to try and, you know, create an opportunity for students to learn from some of the best academics, both him and his colleagues at Imperial College and other universities around the world. He's also got affiliations with the likes of NASA and the European Space Agency, which is quite cool and quite exciting, but that just gives you a little bit of an idea as to kind of who founded the company and what the philosophy is.
Okay, can I add something? So, 예, 제가 그 상담을 하는 동안에 그 얘기를 많이 했을까요? 스페이스십 디자인 컴피티션 그 얘기를 했을까요? 왜 의사가 되려고 하는 사람이 이걸 해야 되는지, 물론 엔지니어링이라든지 다른 전공은 이해가 될 것 같은데 왜 의사가 돼야 되는 사람이 이 프로그램을 해야 되는지, 왜 이걸 설명하면서 했던 건데, 이걸 만드신 분이 이분이고요. 그다음에 영국의 보딩 스쿨이라든지 그다음 톱 대학을 가려고 하는 학생들은 거의 대부분 이 프로그램을 한다고 보시면 될 것 같아요. 그래서 이 프로그램을 만드신 분이 이분이라고 보시면 될 것 같습니다. 예, 그래요?
Thank you. So this section of the talk is about, you know, how we, in our opinion, would suggest students begin to prepare for their medical school applications. Kind of same broadly applies to foundation medicine as well as normal medical school applications. These are things that students should be thinking about, especially when it comes to evidencing your passion. But the first thing that we kind of tend to think about as an overview of preparing for medical school is students should start thinking about developing their kind of super curricular skill set. And this is not to be confused with extracurricular. So, you know, extracurriculars being sports, music, art, you know, hobbies, that kind of thing. Super curricular is elements that aren't necessarily your academic, you're not your A-levels or your GCSEs or IGCSEs or equivalent, but areas that you can develop that will aid your application to university academically. So we're talking about problem-solving skills, reasoning skills, reading outside of the school curriculum, showing an interest in certain, you know, in medicine, in engineering, outside of your school curriculum, engaging in work experience that's specific to your desired career and university course in your school holidays, work experience, healthcare, for medicine, healthcare related volunteer work as well is very important, and starting your admissions test and interview preparation early. So these are the kind of a very broad overview of what we think you should be focusing on over in the years building up to your university application.
Okay. 오케이. 혹시 저한테 상담 받으셨던 분들은 슈퍼 커리큘러라는 얘기를 좀 어쩌면 들으셨을 거고, 제가 상담 중에 굉장히 많은 부분을 이걸 할애해서 얘기를 했던 게 어쩌면 그죠? 했던 것 같고요. 그다음에 이 부분은 사실은 미국 대학교는 굉장히 엑스트라 커리큘러를 많이 좀 중요하게 생각을 해요. 엑스트라 커리큘러는 음악, 미술, 체육 뭐 이런 것들을 얘기를 하는 거거든요. 하지만 영국에서는 이걸 전혀 하지 않아도 상관없고요. 물론 하고 있는데 이걸 그죠? 이것 때문에 그저 뭐 들어간다, 뭐 못 들어간다 이게 아니라, 만약에 전공에 대해서 예를 들면 내가 의사한다. 그런데 내가 운동을 좋아한다. 그러면 운동에 대해서 좋은 점을 쓴다든지 왜 이렇게 표현을 할 수는 있거든요. 하지만 이걸 했다 하지 않았다 이거 자체가 중요한 건 영국은 전혀 아니라고 제가 말씀드렸고요. 그래서 슈퍼 커리큘러는 내 전공에 대해서 내가 그 예를 들면 의사가 돼야 된다, 뭐 엔지니어가 된다라고 하면 그거에 관련된 워크 익스피리언스를 하고요. 관련된 프로블럼 솔빙 하고요. 하지만 딱 정해진 건 아니긴 해요. 내가 의사가 돼야 되는데 병원에서만 난 일을 해야 된다. 왜 이런 건 아니거든요. 의사가 되려고 하면 여러 가지 팀워크도 필요하잖아요. 그러면 팀워크로 뭔가 할 수 있는 거, 뭐 스포츠도 될 수 있고요. 여러 가지 그죠? 내가 팀으로 짜가지고 어떤 것들을 예를 들면 컴피티션 나가볼 수 있는 거고요. 그다음에 지식도 필요하니까요. 올림피아드라든지 이런 것들도 나가볼 수 있고요. 그러니까 내 전공하고 관련된 그런 액티비티를 얘기를 하는 거예요. 직접적으로 전공하고 관련이 있는 것들. 물론 약간 포괄적으로 관련된 부분도 굉장히 좀 많이 있겠죠. 의사는 여러 가지 활동적인 부분이 되게 많이 있고 규모적인 부분이 있고 커뮤니케이션 부분이 있으니까. 그래서 만약에 엔지니어링을 한다면 좀 더 스페시픽하게 좀 들어갈 수는 있겠죠. 실제로 엔지니어 그런 그죠? 자동차 공장을 가본다든지 실제로 기계 메커니즘이 어떻게 운영이 되는지 이런 걸 본다든지 이런 걸 하는 것들이거든요. 그다음에 여기에 당연히 포함이 되는 게 유니버스 엔트런스 exam이라든지 그다음에 의대 같은 경우는 UCAS나 BMAC 같은 것도 필요하고요. 그래서 이걸 얘기하는 거예요. 그래서 이 부분을 어떻게 제공해 주는지 이게 학교에 내가 찾아야 되는 학교에서 이런 것들을 어떻게 구체적으로 제공하는지 이 포인트가 가장 학교를 선택하는데 중요한 점일 것 같아요. 그래서 제가 소개해드리는 학교는 이런 학교 위주로 소개시켜 주는데 그렇지 못하는 경우, 그다음 좀 부족할 경우에 이런 프로에 대해서 이런 프로그램 제공해서 학생들에게 또 부족할 수 있잖아요. 내가 선택했던 학교에서. 그래서 이 프로그램 제공하고 있고요. 그다음에 특히 이제 의대 파운데이션을 많이 가는데 의대 파운데이션은 하는 학생들은 1년밖에 없기 때문에 그 전에 이런 것을 좀 준비를 해야 되는 그런 부분들이 있거든요. 그래서 이 부분이 사실 영국은 톱 학교 의대를 가고 할 때 가장 중요하다라고 생각하시면 될 것 같습니다. 오케이, 캐리어.
So the next kind of section in preparing for your application in terms of the Ucas application. So for those of you that aren't familiar with kind of the UK system, applying to medical school is done through a kind of central system in the UK. In the US, you'd apply directly to each university individually. In the UK, we have a central system called Ucas, and you apply to all of your universities centrally through this service. So this is how all applications are received in the UK. So when we're thinking about your application, we need to draw on what you've learned in your supercurricular activities. So we're talking about what you've learned from reading outside of the school curriculum, what you've learned from your volunteer work, what you've learned from your work experience programs, etc. And kind of help put these into your personal statement and content for your interview. Why do you want to study medicine? Why do you want to study engineering? And these are the things that we need to start thinking about really bringing together so that you have some good content for your personal statement and interview when it comes to medical school. Shall I let you talk? Yeah.
그래서 최근에 문제가 되고 있는 게 있잖아요. 미국에서 스펙 쌓기 이렇게 해서 하지만 영국은 사실은 이런 걸 모으도록 하고 이러지 않거든요. 그럼 미국처럼 이런 스펙 쌓기가 되고 많은 비용을 좀 소비해야 되는 거니까요. 그래서 이걸 항상 인터뷰 통해서 자기소개서 통해서 이런 걸 얻어내려고 하는 거거든요. 그래서 영국은 이런 것 워크 experience도 엄청 많이 했다고 좋고 적게 했다가 나쁘고 이런 건 전혀 아니란 얘기를 계속 해드리고요. 그리고 이걸 통해서 내가 결국에 어떤 식으로 그 전공에 대해서는 열정을 표현할 수 있느냐, 내 독특한 열정을 표현할 수 있느냐, 이게 포인트거든요. 그래서 워크 익스피리언스 통해서 이걸 해야 된다라는 게 이번 주제라고 생각하시면 될 것 같아요. 오케이, 캐리어.
So when applying to medical schools in the UK, after your Ucas application has been submitted, the admissions teams at the universities will consider a number of different areas. Admissions tests for kind of undergraduate level medicine, so UCAT and BMAT for medicine are very, very important. I think probably the most underrated part of a medical school application is the admissions test score. There's some interesting statistics on the scores on UCAT and BMAT and the likelihood of students actually getting an offer from a medical school at undergraduate level. So they're very, very important. The higher the score, the more likely you are to get an offer, very broadly. They'll assess you through interview. And the UK interview system is very different to many other countries in that you could have 5 A stars at A level or equivalent, but if you don't interview well and demonstrate your passion for the subject, correctly, especially at Oxbridge, but also med schools, you may not get in. So it's not just about academics. The next part is really, they look at your personal statement. What will make yours stand out? And this is where things like the personal career events and activities that you undertake throughout your school year will really help. What have you done that makes you stand out more than other students? What have you done? How have you evidenced your passion? And we'll talk about this later. What have you done to evidence your passion for medicine in this case? GCSE A-level grades, of course, very important. That's or equivalent. A good score for medical school is typically required. And then your teacher's reference. So the reference from your teacher about your behavior, but also your academic performance are all taken into account when you apply for medical school.
의대에 대해서는 조금 더 메디션을 하면, 의대에 대해서는 최근에는 UCAS하고 PBS를 굉장히 좀 높은 점수가 있는 게 좀 좋거든요. 그 전에는 사실은 그렇게 문제가 되진 않았었어요. 근데 지원자가 워낙 많고, 그다음 그 중에서 인터뷰에 선발을 해야 되니까 이 UCAS하고 PBS이 점점 중요해지고 있거든요. 그래서 가장 언더레이트, 그러니까 전평가된 요소라고 얘기를 하고 있죠. 그러니까 가장 좀 준비를 많이 해야 되는 부분이 UCAS, PBS라고 생각하시면 될 것 같습니다.
Thank you. So there are a few things that we kind of recommend students think about, and the earlier students can think about this, the better, because it really starts to ingrain the thinking in terms of how, at every step, how am I preparing myself and improving my credibility as a medical school applicant. So the things that are definitely relevant for medicine are knowledge and demonstrable passion for medicine. So, what have you done? Talking about what have you done to evidence your passion? Just saying in an interview that I want to be a doctor because I care about people and I want to help people, for example, isn't enough. They want to know, why do you want to help people? What made you think that? What have you done to evidence that? And that's incredibly important for medical school in the UK, because they want to know that people coming into healthcare are in healthcare for the right reasons. It's a very difficult degree. It's a very difficult career. And if you're not passionate, then you may not make it through the undergraduate degree. So that's kind of the way that they think about it. And then a vocational commitment to healthcare. And what we mean by that is, in your school, throughout the time that you're at school, are you volunteering at an old people's home? Are you volunteering at a care home? Are you volunteering at a hospice? Are you volunteering at a hospital? And these things all show that, when you say things like, I really care about people and I want to help people, that's really good evidence for that. It's like, I really care about people, great. And I volunteer at an old people's home at the weekend to make sure, to help the nurses and help the doctors in my spare time. That's a really, really good way of evidencing that passion. And that's something that we try to kind of encourage all prospective medical students to do. On a regular basis, a vocational commitment, volunteer work if you can in the health industry. Shall I let you quickly talk?
Okay, carry on. Yeah.
Okay, sure. So the things that aren't so relevant to your application are extracurricular activities, and we spoke about this a little bit earlier, but a lot of students ask, I'm grade 8 in piano, or I'm captain of the soccer team, or, is this relevant? Do universities care about this? And while extracurriculars are nice, they don't support your application in the place of something like a vocational commitment or evidencing your passion. A grade 8 for piano is great, but that's not going to help you be a great doctor. So, and also you only have kind of 4,000 in the UK, you have 4,000 characters in your personal statement to demonstrate to the university that you are right for them. And I'd argue that, if you have demonstrable passion in healthcare to write about, then perhaps something like a grade 8 in piano is less relevant. So that's something that, is quite a big misconception. Extracurricular activities can be great if you have all of the other things as well, but not instead of. Don't focus on piano instead of doing volunteer work. It's not how, medical schools won't assess the two the same. So extracurricular activities not relating to medicine are not as relevant for your application.
네, 조금 제가 말씀드리면 여기에서 그 의대에 대해서는 지식도 필요하고요. 그다음에 워크 익스피리언스라든지 그다음에 뭐 이런 부분이 필요하거든요. 그래서 제가 항상 얘기하는 것은 패션 베이스드 온 에비던스를 얘기를 하는 거예요. 그리고 이 에비던스를 그냥 똑같이 얘기하는 게 아니라 4,000명의 지원자가 있다면 4,000명이 다 다르게 느낄 수 있는 부분들을 만들어주는 게 실제로 워크 익스피리언스인 경우가 되게 많거든요. 책이나 기사를 통해서는 거의 비슷한 의견이 나오는 경우가 많거든요. 하지만 일을 하면서 느끼는 것은, 그리고 내가 보면서 체험하면서 느끼는 것은 4,000명이 있다면 4,000명이 다 다른 느낌으로 얘기를 할 수가 있거든요. 왜 그걸 얘기를 하는 거예요? 너만의 독특한 의사가 되는 이유는 뭐냐? 왜 이런 것들을 얘기하는 거거든요. 그리고 그 항상 제일 많이 물어보는 게 엑스트라 커리큘럼은 아까도 얘기했던 것처럼 뭐 어떤 걸 해야 되느냐, 뭐 그죠? 음악 악기를 연주하면 좋으냐, 스포츠에서 뭐 어떤 걸 하면 좋으냐라고 얘기하는데 직접적인 관련이 없으면 좀 필요치 않아요. 하지만 말씀드렸던 것처럼 내가 운동을 해보니까 어떤 답변에서는 나는 운동 평소에 이렇게 하는데 유산소 운동이 굉장히 많이 나한테 도움이 된다, 이런 식으로 답변할 수 있죠. 그다음 음악을 들었는데 내가 좀 스트레스 받을 때 안정이 된다. 왜 이럴 때 답변하기는 되게 좋은 거죠. 그래서 음악을 좋아하는데 굳이 뭐 그죠? 관련이 없으니까 스톱을 하고 다른 걸 한다. 왜 이럴 필요는 없다는 거죠. 이해되시죠? 네. 오케이.
Thank you. So the application process in terms of the relevant assessment criteria is an extension of the last slide. What admissions tutors are assessing is evidence of your academics, your academic strength, your personality as an individual, particularly for medicine, and your character qualities. You know, who are you? Are you right for medicine? Do they think you're right for medicine? So based on this, kind of for the academics, that's your predicted grades if you're in the UK, or achieved grades, you know, or your actual grades, and your admissions tests. So those are kind of the three main areas that they're going to assess in terms of your academics. What are your predicted grades? If you've done GCSE grades, they'll have a look at those. If you've done A-level grades, they'll have a look at those. And then they'll also look at your predicted grades from your teachers in your school and compare that to your achieved grades at GCSE. They need to be realistic. And this is another thing where, you know, if you get, you know, not so good grades at GCSE, and then your teacher tries to predict really, really top grades for A-level, medical schools will see through that. You know, you need demonstrable strong grades throughout to be able to be a competitive candidate. And then personality, you know, are you right for the course? So that's kind of that the opportunity for you to showcase your personality is through your personal statement, your interview, and then your teacher's reference. So these are the three things that you need to make sure are on point.
Okay, carry on.
Perfect. So prepare. Now I'm going to talk through, you know, depending on your age, what we think you should be focusing on in terms of preparing yourself for a top university and preparing yourself for medical school. Before year 10 in the UK, so this is the, you know, before GCSE level, before GCSE, IGCSE level, this is about kind of absorbing as much information as possible in the field that you're interested in. Now, if this is medicine, then this applies to anything medicine related, but this can apply to any career, you know, engineering, law, finance, anything. It's generically the same guidance. Start exploring your interests as early as possible. And what we mean by this is, you know, if you think you're interested in medicine and you think that's what you want to study, even if you're 13, 14, 15, have a, you know, explore that. Don't just think I want to study medicine, because what we don't want to happen is get to, you know, your A-levels. And then if I ask you a question like, why medicine? Why do you want to study medicine or engineering? You struggle to come up with, you know, answers to those questions. Simple questions, actually, students often we find struggle to answer. And that's because they have a lack of kind of foundational knowledge of actually why they want to study medicine. Perhaps they like the idea, but why, you know, and you can understand the why a little bit more by attending public lectures, if there's any lectures or seminars online with, you know, to do with medicine or your career of interest, medical blogs, a really good, if you're interested in science or medicine, a very, very good subscription is called The New Scientist. It's fantastic. You get some really good kind of, especially at an early stage, you get some really good opportunities to learn some new things, read the news, keep up to date with the current affairs, what's happening in medicine at the moment, have there been any advancements, documentaries, etc. So just start to explore as much as you can on a regular basis. Read outside your school curriculum. So, you know, doing biology, physics, maths, and chemistry at school is great, but you know, read outside your school curriculum. Read medical papers if you're a little bit older. If you're younger, you know, watch YouTube videos, watch TED Talks, etc. Just gain an understanding outside your school curriculum. If your school has clubs and societies that are related to medicine or your career of interest, that's a really good way of doing it as well. And then actual work experience, you know, if you can get in a hospital or care homes or hospices, that's fantastic. And then online courses that kind of similar to the things that ProEd offer in terms of evidencing your passion through learning, you know, evidencing your passion through applying yourself to medicine, working with doctors and having that kind of simulated experience. And the reason these kind of things exist is really because it can be quite difficult to find actual work experience, especially in the UK. You know, trying to find a hospital that will provide you access to actual doctors who will provide you with the information that's required to kind of push you forwards and develop that passion can be quite difficult. So that's where these types of programs can really help. And then also projects and competitions. You know, if you can engage in projects and competitions that help you further your knowledge, that's really good. So pre-year 10, that's a really good place to start.
Thank you very much. 이 부분은 사실 되게 좀 중요한 부분이긴 하는데, 뭐 혹시 부모님이나 학생이 한국에서 공부하는 학생들이 보고 있다라고 하면 이 많은 거 어떻게 해?라고 얘기를 할 것 같아요. 근데 왜냐면 한국에서는 워낙 많은 양의 그죠? 뭐 아카데미 서브젝트에 대해서 공부를 해야 되고 굉장히 많은 뭐 그죠? 학교에서 공부를 하지만 또 학원에서 또 수학이라든지 영어라든지 사이언스라든지 왜 이런 걸 공부를 해야 되니까 왜 이런 부분이 있는 것 같아요. 하지만 영국에서 뭐 GCS를 생각을 한다, A레벨을 생각을 한다, 그다음에 의대를 생각을 한다라고 하면 글쎄요, 저희 학생 중에 예를 들어서 좀 그러긴 하는데, 이런 학원이라든지 그런 걸 오히려 하지 않았던 학생들이, 그리고 이런 과정을 좀 경험을 했던 사람들, 그리고 어떤 주제에 대해서 자기 목소리를 좀 높였던 학생들이 결국에는 좀 입학을 했던 그런 경험이 많은 것 같아요. 그래서 지금 뭐 부모님께서라도 학생들이 공부하라고 하면 좀 밸런스를 유지해서 왜 이런 부분들을 좀 생각을 해보셔도 괜찮을 것 같아요. 그래서 뭐 여기 OIC 제가 소개해준 OIC라든지 NMS나 IB라든지 거의 70%에서 90% 학생들이 A나 S를 맞거든요. 그다음에 A레벨 같은 경우는 다시 리테이크를 해서 더 맞는 방법들도 있고요. 그래서 공부는 저희 학생들 경험상 대부분 좀 그죠? 공부하는 사람들은 A나 S를 맞춰서 문제는 없었던 것 같아요. 하지만 이런 부분들, 특히 자기 생각을 좀 표현하는 부분, 왜 이런 부분들, 그다음에 제가 뭐 워크 익스피리언스를 해보면서 나는 이 전공에 대해서 열정이 있어요라고 얘기하는 사람들 자체가 많이 없었던 것 같아요. 영국은 좀 반대인 경우가 많아요. 아카데미 성적은 좀 안 좋은데 이런 경우 많은 경우 많거든요. 그래서 그런 차이가 있으니까 좀 밸런스를 좀 유지해서 이렇게 하시면 될 것 같고, 그래서 뭐 이해되시죠? 네. Okay, RP.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is the kind of the second step. So the last slide was before year 10, and then from year 10 being the first year of GCSE. And the reason this is important is the GCSEs or equivalent is the first qualification that medical schools and universities consider as part of your application. They also look at your GCSE scores. So this is where we need to start thinking about the academics as well. So continue with everything that we have recommended pre-year 10 in the last slide. So the evidencing of the passion, the working on work experience, the reading outside the school curriculum, all of those things, continue with those into year 10. With the addition of now academic performance is now critical from this point onwards. You know, developing your academic performance is also a very, very important element to focus on. For GCSE, IGCSE, we recommend a minimum of 8 subjects. That typically should include a triple science award in the UK. Maths and English are essential. and then others are kind of typically up to you. The more academic, typically the better. The more difficult the subject at GCSE, the typically the better. For A-level, the compulsory subjects for medicine are chemistry and biology. You have to do those. And with maths and physics as a strong preference as a as a third or fourth. You don't have to do physics and maths, but you almost certainly have to do one of those two. Your fourth subject typically should be a strong fourth subject. What we mean by a strong academic fourth subject is, not kind of business studies or general studies, but maybe, an economics or a history or a physics, for example. You want it to be difficult, or even computer science, something that's difficult and demonstrates your academic capabilities.
혹시 GCS에 대해서 많이 물어보시는 분 계시는데, 사실 우리나라 고등학교로 마치면 뭐 1년짜리 GCS를 하게 돼서 사실 8개 서브젝트를 다 하기는 좀 쉽지 않는 그런 부분이 있어요. 그래서 그 의대를 지원할 때 GCS를 많이 보는 학교가 있고 그렇지 않은 학교도 있거든요. 그다음에 인터내셔널 학생들의 환경을 좀 이해해주는 그런 학교들도 있으니까요. 뭐 A 8개 서브젝트에 너무 없어서 그냥 너무 그죠? 집착을 하지 않을지도 괜찮을 것 같고요. 하지만 내가 관련된 서브젝트, 그러니까 수학, 화학, 생물, 물리, 이런 사이언스 서브젝트는 계속 좀 높은 점수를 있는 게 좋고요. 하지만 GCS에서 뭐 요구하는 게 그렇게 높진 않아요. BBB 이상 이렇게 요구를 하거든요. 사실 더 중요한 것은 가면서 더 좋은 성적을 내야 되는 A레벨이거든요. 그래서 A레벨에서 더 좋은 성적을 낸다든지, 그다음에 어드미션 테스트, Ucas, BMS에서 훨씬 높은 성적을 낸다라고 하면 뭐 GCS는 상쇄할 수 있으니까 그건 너무 걱정하지 않으셔도 될 것 같아요. Okay.
Thank you. So the A-level, talk a little bit about A-level requirements for your Ucas application, and there's a little bit of interesting context here. The typical minimum grade requirement, an emphasis on the minimum entry requirement, is 3 A's at A-level. However, and this is something that's important not to be too focused on, because minimum grade requirement doesn't mean that you will be successful in applying to medical school with that minimum grade requirement. It depends entirely on how strong the applications are for that university. So, for example, if you're applying to, I don't know, UCL, for example, and they say the minimum entry requirement is 3 A's, but if most of the students that year who apply are predicted A stars, then 3 A's isn't enough. So that doesn't mean that you should aim for 3 A's. It means you should always be aiming for as higher grades as possible, and that means you have a higher chance. Oxbridge grade requirements are typically 3 A stars for to give you an idea for A level.
A-레벨은 뭐 많은 분들이 아시겠지만 나중에 조건부로만 이렇게 나오면 돼요. 그다음에 A가 뭐 예를 들면 70에서 80이다라고 하면 70점 맞아도 A, 그다음 80점에도 A, 이러거든요. 그래서 한 점, 2점 차이로 이렇게 그냥 갈리거나 그러진 않는데 해상 점수를 써놓은 거거든요. 어떤 학교는 A라는 학생은 A스타를 줬는데 어떤 학생은 AAA를 준다. 근데 UCL 같은 학교에서 엄청나게 경쟁이 세는데 A스타 있는데 굳이 AA 있는 학생을 인터뷰 초대할까? 왜 이렇게 생각을 한다는 거죠. 그래서 의대를 가면 AAA 이것만 맞으면 안 돼라고 생각하는 게 아니라 A스타를 목표로 공부를 해야 된다는 걸 말씀드리고요. 오케이.
Okay. So now year 10 and year 11 is the GCSE years. That's what we kind of talked about in the last slide in terms of starting to think about your academics, as well as making sure that you are applying some time to your supercurricular program for medicine as well. When you get to year 12, it's now into kind of you're applying to university within just over a year. You're looking at 1 year and 3 months, and you'll apply to university. So time is close. So now it's time to consolidate what you've been learning, start attending university open days, start shortlisting which university. So by that point, by year 12, you'll know probably how strong academically you are, what your predicted grades are likely to be, how strong you are with your admissions tests, or an idea of how strong you are with your admissions test. And that should give you an idea of which universities you should be aiming for and applying to. and start attending university open days. Start your shortlisting process. Which ones do you like? Which ones don't you like? And really ensure that you have a robust understanding of the admissions requirements of each of those unis, because each university is slightly different, especially when you're looking at the top universities. The fundamentals are the same, but there are some nuances in terms of what they would like from each of their students. So also attending university open days, if you can, is very important, because it gives you a feel for the place as well. You might go up to a university and go, oh no, actually I don't like this. Do you like a city campus, or do you like a set campus somewhere else, a closed campus? Each universities offer different things. So deciding what you like and what you don't like is also an important part of this process.
Okay.
So year 13, prepare early. This is kind of preparing as early as possible for year 13. The main kind of takeaway from this slide is really your BMAT, provided that your academics you're spending a good amount of time on making sure that you're getting good grades at school. Prepare early for your interview, your UCAT, and your BMAT, and any other tests that you need for your medical school and preparations. Too many students will get into year 13 in September, and bearing in mind that for you in the UK, if you are applying for medical school, you will be doing so by the 15th of October. So that only gives you maybe 2.5 months, or well, a month and a half from when you start. But if you start in the summer, you might have 3-4 months. That doesn't leave you a lot of time. UCAT and BMAT are not things that you can learn by rote. They are skills-based. They're a skills-based test that tests your problem-solving skills, your verbal reasoning skills, your numeracy skills, in a way that you can't just learn through a textbook. You have to practice. And so leaving yourself 3-4 months is not enough. So, typically we say start if you start your UCAT BMAT minimum start of A levels, ideally with your GCSEs, start learning the skills. By the time you get to A level, you're not suddenly having to worry about preparing for your exams and doing the hardest part of your A level curriculum, as well as your admissions tests. You've already got it sorted. You're already strong in those areas. So that's the kind of UCAT BMAT preparation for year 13. You need to then start thinking about writing a personal statement. And this is where all of the stuff about evidencing your passion and all of the work experience and all of the programs and online programs and etc. that you've done over the years will come into fruition. You can now talk about very, very passionately about what you like, what you don't like, etc. You can then submit your Ucas application. That happens in October, and attend your medical interviews, which are typically in November. So November or December, depending on the school. Perfect. So this is just in the UK, this is a quick timeline of from year 13, what your application timeline looks like. So when you join your A-level, last year of A-level in year 13, you have, as I say, a few months until October when you submit your Ucas application. That means your personal statement needs to be ready, your predicted grades need to be ready, your teacher's reference, and you need to have picked your medical schools as well. So you need to have picked which schools you want to apply to, which is going to be your firm choice if they give you the offer, and which is your backup. So it's important not to just have lots of very top universities. You need a mix in case you don't meet the right amount of grades, so in case you don't hit the right grades. November, you'll typically be sitting your admissions test, your UCAT, your BMAT. December, you'll typically sit your interviews, and by the latest May, you'll have all of your university offers in on Ucas. June, you'll sit your exams, and August, middle of August, you'll get either you'll secure your place because you'll get the right grades, or you'll get rejected and you have to think about what you're going to do from that point onwards. So that hopefully gives you a clear idea of how quickly these things come. If you wait until year 13 to start preparing, there just isn't enough time. There's too many things to prepare for.
Yeah. So next slide for our main content. Okay.
So finally, why attend a work experience online program, you know, what can they offer that perhaps others can't? Three main things really. It'll help you select the right course if you're younger. You know, if you're 13 to 15 years old, it's an opportunity for you to learn about whether you like a subject, and it gives you an immersive experience. If you're older, it's okay, I think I want to study medicine, and then you do a course. Okay, I know I definitely want to study medicine or not. You know, that's the kind of one of the main benefits is reaffirming your decision to study a course, evidencing your passion, which I've spoken about a lot. You know, this is something that you can really use on your personal statement, use in your interview for reasons as to why you want to study medicine, and then personal statement and medical school interviews as well. So, you know, again, more content for your personal statement and medical school interviews. So kind of these in a little bit more detail, selecting the right course for you. So, you know, these simulation programs gives you the opportunity to be fully informed about what the program is. And I think that the thing that's unique about these programs is that they are designed with the student in mind. So while we have, while you're not in a hospital, you have access in this program to actual doctors. You have doctors that will be teaching you the content. And the difference is that you're not just being put into an organization where they go, okay, can you just do these little tasks? These programs are specifically designed to help enhance your knowledge of medicine with industry professionals. And I think that's where they really add the most value to students, because you have the undivided attention. Doctors in particular are very busy. So if you're in a hospital, it's hard to get their time. On these programs, the students have undivided attention of qualified doctors, which is a very, very unique experience. Evidencing your passion, you know, unfortunately, gone are the days where just a strong academic and UCAT BMAT scores are going to get you entry into a top medical school. We need to, you know, you need to evidence that to the admissions team, to the tutors, and these courses are a really good opportunity to do that. You know, you can say, you know, we did a session on, you know, a liver transplant, and they talked us through the process and how it works. And now I'm really, really passionate about surgery, and I think I want to become a surgeon. That's much more compelling than saying I want to be a doctor because my parents are doctors. You know, that's a very different message. And then the personal statement and interview, you know, you can't learn too much about these things. As I said previously, you only have 4,000 written characters to make a positive impression on the admissions team. So these courses give you content, real life working experience with doctors to give you an opportunity to write about those things in a convincing way. So our program, it's going to be running from the 6th to the 6th and 7th of August. It's a weekend. It'll take place on Zoom, and you can basically, yeah, it's hopefully going to be 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The reason we do that is so that the UK teachers don't have to stay up, don't have to get up too early. So that's the reason for the timings. But it's you know, it'll be a good full 5-6 hour day for the students. This gives you a very quick overview of the program itself. So these are the types of things you're going to be learning on the program. A brief introduction to the program, things like the duties of a doctor, you know, learn from personal experience and from qualified doctors. So this isn't just, you know, this isn't a biology teacher teaching you what it is. This is a junior doctor or a surgeon telling you, you know, what is it like, a general day-to-day duties of a doctor, not just the exciting stuff, but what do they do in their day? Patient assessments, interactive lectures, vital signs, the basics of patient assessments. How do I assess what's wrong with a patient? How do I prioritization practice? Hospitals can get very busy. So how do you choose, let's say you have 3 patients in an emergency department. How do you know which one to see first? In an ethical manner, you know, how do you prioritize your tasks and resources? Basic investigations, so learn about blood tests, what they mean, imaging, x-rays, and endoscopies as well. So there's some really cool stuff that students can get a grasp of. And then very, very important in medicine and also for interviews, ethical scenarios. So you'll learn about the 4 pillars of ethics and the Hippocratic Oath, working ethical scenario role plays. So, when people give you confidential information, how do you deal with that? How do you break bad news to people, etc., etc. These are all very, very important skills that students need to develop if they want to become doctors. So that's the first day of the program. The second day is focused on surgery predominantly. There'll be an introduction, and this is delivered by a surgeon from a university in Cambridge. So he will introduce the basics of surgery, learn the ins and outs of the processes involved in preparing a patient for surgery, the operation process, and then post-operation. So he'll also show some videos of surgery happening and talk students through, what's happening, but also the process. How do we prepare someone for surgery? What happens when they're in the operating theatre? And then how do we get them ready to go home again afterwards, which is a very useful skill for students to learn about. Surgical pathology, so anatomy and case study on various pathologies within medicine. Suturing, which is quite interesting. How do they actually stitch up a wound at the end of an operation? And they're also going to talk about the removal of an appendix as a procedure. So how do we remove an appendix safely in humans? And then also some things on medical research. Why is it? What is it? Why is it important? How are we constantly pushing medicine forwards to becoming more progressive and more solving more human health issues in the future, prolonging life. People have been living longer and longer over the past few decades, so this is an opportunity to kind of learn about how medicine has helped with that. There'll then be a very brief session at the end with medical school applications. They'll talk through a little bit about applying to top medical schools. Finally, with the Q&A, so you'll have 2 qualified doctors and Yasmin Sawar as well, who is one of the leading kind of minds in applying to medical school.
Okay.
So these are the tutors. These are the people that will be delivering the program. So you've got Dr. H. Spears. He's an academic clinical fellow at one of the university colleges in Cambridge. Obviously, he works for the NHS, and he actually specialises in liver transplants. But he's also a general surgeon as well. So he will be delivering part of the program. He'll be there for the whole program, but his specific focus will be the surgery day. And then we have Dr. S. Joshi, who is also a junior doctor at the University of Cambridge, same hospital. He graduated from University of Oxford and moved to Cambridge for his final years. So he'll be able to give the students a real insight into what the first few years of being a junior doctor is. He's qualified, but he's now actually working as a doctor, and what that means and the kind of challenges that come with it.
지금 이 프로그램을 이렇게 이제 계획을 했거든요. 어쩌면 굉장히 좀 짧은 시간일 수는 있어요. 하지만 이 부분이 굉장히 좀 도움이 되는 게, 일단 한국에서 파운데이션 준비하는 학생들은 사실 이런 경험을 영국에서 워크 익스프리언스라든지 이런 걸 하기가 얼마나 어려운지 좀 이해를 못 하실 거예요. 그리고 심지어는 이제 A레벨을 하는 학생들도 코로나 이전에도 사실은 뭐 네가 병원을 각각 지원을 해야 되거든요. 그래서 뭐 많은 사람들은 50군데, 한 사람 100군데, 제일 많이 하는 사람 150군데를 지원하는 사람 봤거든요. 이런 식으로 지원을 해가지고 병원에서 인턴십을 하는 거예요. 근데 거의 대부분 학생들은 포기하거나, 그죠? 뭐 한국에 와서 하거나 왜 이런 식이었거든요. 근데 OIC에서는 이걸 뭐 학생들이 이걸 워크 익스피리언스를 못 잡으면 거의 저한테도 다시 연락을 하고 어떻게 해서든 좀 소개받아가지고 또 하고 왜 이런 것들이 있었고요. 그 다음에 그 1년차가 끝나면 갭이라고 해가지고 말레이시아를 가가지고 또 무조건 워크 익스피리언스를 또 하고요. 그 다음에 이제 또 8월 중순에 또 오라고 해가지고 또 부족한 걸 또 하라고 하고요. 왜 이런 식이거든요. 내가 이 전공에 대해서 열정을 찾았을 때까지, 내가 오케이 스스로 만족했을 때, 스스로 내가 왜 의사가 돼야 되는지, 이해할 때까지 이 과정을 하는 거예요. 그래서 특히 이 과정이 좀 도움이 되는 것은 우리나라에서만 워크 익스피리언스를 하는 학생들은 사실은 영국에서 어떤 의사를 뽑는지 왜 이 경험을 하기가 되게 쉽지 않거든요. 또 그런 사람들 만나서 직접 질문해보고 답변해보고 왜 이러기가 제일 쉽지 않아요. 그다음에 학교에 예를 들면 영국에 있는 학교에 간다고 하더라도 현직에 있는 의사를 만나서 이런 경험을 해보기는 좀 쉽지 않거든요. 그래서 이런 부분을 간접적으로 경험할 수 있는 왜 이런 부분이 되고요. 그다음에 이 온라인 통해서 실제로 병원에 그죠? 내가 워크 익스피리언스를 할 때 어떤 걸 물어봐야 될지, 어떤 걸 또 봐야 될지 왜 이걸 좀 이해하는 거고요. 그다음에 사실은 코로나 팬데믹 때는 사실은 온라인으로 밖에는 할 수 없었거든요. 병원에서 감염이 되고 왜 이런 상황이 때문에 초대를 할 수가 없었기 때문에 거의 모든 대학교에서 온라인으로 하는 것도 다 인정을 해 주었거든요. 그래서 최소한 이 학생이 얼마나 그죠? 의사에 대해서 알고 있느냐, 왜 이런 것도 파악을 해야 되는 거니까요. 그래서 물론 부족할 수 있지만 영국에서 일을 하기는 너무너무 힘들다. 그래서 이걸 되게 도움이 된다. 그래서 사실은 이걸 초대한 것도 제 학생들 굉장히 많은 사람들이 파운데이션 생각을 하고 엘레벨을 하고 엘레벨 1년을 끝나고 나서 연락이 온 사람도 많아요. 근데 워크 익스피리언스를 아예 못 해보고 자기소개서에 워크 익스피리언스 내용을 써야 되는데 그 내용 자체를 쓸 수 없는 상황이 정말 많았거든요. 그래서 이런 부분 때문에 제가 초대했다라고 생각하시면 될 것 같아요. 오케이.
Okay. So final piece is on how to apply. If you're interested in applying, please, you can either contact us, but easier if you contact Mr. Suno and his team at People Loving, and they can help you with any of the application details. We're working exclusively with Suno and his team in Korea, so he's the only person that can really help with this. So yeah, confirm with Suno and his team if you are interested in applying. Finally, this just gives you an idea of the certificate. So this is something that you can use, as part of your application to evidence, this gives you an idea of what you'd get when you finish the program. So, signed by Dr. Randall and Alison, who's our Director of Curriculum Development, both Imperial College academic members and faculty. And this, hopefully this, this would definitely help evidence if anyone should ask. Yeah.
이 부분을 통해서 물론 서티피케이트 받는 것 자체가 중요한 건 아니에요. 그래서 하지만 서티피케이트를 했다라고 건 최소한 내가 어디에서 그죠? 인증된 사람 그리고 NHS 소속된 사람으로부터 이렇게 트레이닝 받았다. 이런 것들은 최소한 인정이 되는 거잖아요. 그리고 앞서 얘기했던 것처럼 내가 굉장히 많은 그죠? 영국 의사가 어떤 건지 이걸 이해하는 되게 좋은 시간이 좀 될 거라고 생각합니다. Okay.
I think that's everything. So if anyone, I'm happy to answer any questions related to the program or applying to medical schools if any students have any questions, but also happy if everyone has everything they need.
그래요. 지금 여기까지 좀 마칠게요. 예상했던 시간보다 좀 더 많이 좀 지났던 것 같아요. 제가 좀 얘기를 좀 덧붙여서 좀 그런 부분도 좀 있고요. 그래요. 혹시 오늘 많이 도움이 되셨길 바라고요. 혹시 또 질문이 있을까요? 그래서 이번 워크 익스피리언스에 대해서 좀 설명을 해주고 사실 제가 많은 사람들한테 이렇게 다 얘기를 하면서 이게 중요하다라고 얘기를 하기가 되게 쉽지가 않거든요. 그래서 의대를 생각하시는 분들은 이 부분이 가장 좀 중요하다라고 생각을 하시고 하시길 좀 강하게 좀 추천을 해드리고요. 그다음에 저희 학생들 그죠? 많은 학생들이 입학을 하지만 앞서 얘기했던 것처럼 아카데미 점수 왜 이것 때문에 가는 건 전혀 아니었다. 그리고 왜 이런 인터뷰라든지 그다음에 이런 경험이라든지 이게 굉장히 좀 내 자신의 목소리를 낼 수 있도록 그다음에 4,000명이 지원한다면 4,000명이 각각이 다른 목소리를 낼 수 있도록 해주는 게 워크 익스피리언스다라고 생각을 하시고 반드시 좀 하실 수 있기를 바라고요. 그럼 영국에서 실제로 그런 경험 갖기가 너무너무 힘들다라는 걸 제가 말씀드리고요. 그리고 이 프로그램에 대해서 더 궁금하실까요? 영어로 했고 제가 설명을 했지만 분명히 더 궁금하실까요? 그래서 저한테 연락을 주시면 제가 좀 더 자세히 설명을 좀 해드리고요. 그리고 제가 추천하는 것은 가능한 많은 워크 익스피리언스 좀 해보기를 좀 바라고요. 그리고 여기를 통해 가지고 워크 익스피리언스 뭔지 왜 필요한지 좀 이해하셨길 바라고요. 참여를 못 하시는 분들은 앞으로 그죠? 반드시 참여하겠다라고 생각을 좀 줄 수 있는 그런 기회가 되었길 바랍니다. 그래요. 그러면 감사드리고요. 지금 시간이 지났으니까 혹시 질문이 있으신 분들은 좀 질문을 좀 받을까요? 궁금하신 분들은 남겨주시면 될 것 같고요. 네. Okay, Rafi, well, thank you very much. So, anything else you would like to add on this?
No, not particularly. I think I think I think what I would finish with is it's difficult to get exposure to doctors in this way. It's hard, and it was we're very fortunate in having these connections. So any opportunity for students to be around doctors and have their attention in this way is a really, really good opportunity for students to just learn. So if any of the if anyone is at all interested in applying to medical school, I think this is going to be a very good experience.
그래. 앞서 얘기했던 것처럼 전반적으로 이 전공이 아니더라도 엔지니어링이라든지 다른 뭐 사이콜로지라든지 뭐 법대라든지 왜 이런 부분들도 이런 형식을 좀 따른다고 생각을 하시면 될 것 같아요. 예를 들면 법대를 가는데 그 A레벨 과목에서 로를 선택을 하면 톱학교에서 안 받아줘요. 이런 부분들이 있어요. 그 대신에 수학이라든지 그다음에 뭐 사이언스라든지 그다음에 뭐 SS는 과목은 당연히 한 과목을 해서 경제를 한다든지 왜 이렇게 해서 좀 들어가는 경우가 있거든요. 대신에 모든 법에 대해서는 많이 알아야지. 그래서 워크 익스피리언스를 해야 되고 인터뷰를 통과해야 되고 법은 엘렛이라는 어둠션 테스트를 또 보거든요. 그래서 이런 과정이 거의 비슷하게 다른 전공도 해당이 된다라고 생각하시고 많은 워크 익스피리언스를 해보시려고 하시고 그다음에 앞서 얘기했던 것처럼 여러 가지 책을 읽어본다든지 여러 가지 경험을 해본다든지 왜 이런 것들이 좀 필요할 것 같습니다. Okay, thank you very much for today. Yeah, I hope it's a great online work experience program you provide early in August. Yeah.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to see everyone attend, and yeah, thank you very much for your time, everyone.
예, 예, 그러면 오늘 세미나 여기서 마치도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.